Jake Morrison stood near the window of the spaceship, watching the stars pass by. His hands were sweating inside his uniform gloves. He had been a soldier for 10 years, but this mission made him more nervous than any battle. Today, humans would meet aliens for the first time in history. The ship was called the Endeavor. It carried 20 people, including Jake. Ambassador Catherine Wells was in charge. She was a smart woman with gray hair who had negotiated peace treaties on Earth for 30 years. Captain Kyle Bennett commanded the ship. He was a good man who cared about his crew. Jake was just the security officer. His job was to stand quietly and make sure nothing went wrong. The year was 2247. Humans had built cities on Mars and several moons, but they had never met intelligent aliens before. Then 6 months ago, the Valdrine Empire contacted Earth. They said they wanted to talk. They said they had been watching humans for a long time. Everyone on Earth was scared and excited at the same time. "They're here," Captain Bennett said. His voice was calm, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. Through the window, Jake saw the alien ship. It was huge, much bigger than the Endeavor. The strange thing was how dark it looked. Most ships reflected light from the stars, but this one seemed to swallow the light. It was like looking at a hole in space. "That's not natural," someone whispered behind Jake. "Nothing about this is natural," Jake replied. He tried to smile, but his face felt frozen. The alien ship connected to the Endeavor. There was a hissing sound as the airlocks opened. Ambassador Wells straightened her jacket and walked toward the meeting room. Captain Bennett and Jake followed her. 10 other crew members came too, all wearing their best uniforms. The meeting room was plain and white. Humans had decorated it with flowers from Earth and paintings of peaceful landscapes. They wanted to show the aliens that humans loved beauty and peace. Jake stood near the back wall, his hand resting near his weapon. He hoped he would never need to use it. The door opened. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The aliens looked almost human, but wrong in small ways that made his skin crawl. They were tall and thin, with skin so pale it seemed to glow in the light. Their eyes were the worst part. They glowed with a faint red light like dying coals in a fire. When they smiled, Jake saw their teeth. The canine teeth were too long, too sharp. "Vampires," someone whispered. "They look like vampires." Jake had read about vampires in old books. The Valdrine did look like those monsters from stories, but these were real. These were aliens who had traveled across the stars. 5 Valdrine entered the room. 4 were guards wearing black armor that seemed to absorb light. The 5th was clearly their leader. She was a woman, or at least something like a woman. She wore a long dress that looked like it was made of liquid silver. Her hair was white and moved like it was alive. Her eyes were the brightest red of all. "I am Princess Lyra Valdrine," she said. Her voice was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It made Jake think of music and screaming mixed together. "I speak for my father, Emperor Kale, ruler of the Valdrine Empire." Ambassador Wells bowed slightly. "Welcome, Princess. I am Catherine Wells, representing the people of Earth. We are honored by your visit." "Honored?" Princess Lyra repeated the word like she was tasting it. "How strange. Most species we meet are afraid." "We are afraid," Ambassador Wells said honestly, "but we are also hopeful. We believe our two peoples can learn from each other." Princess Lyra walked slowly around the room. Her guards followed her like shadows. She looked at each human face, studying them. Jake tried not to stare back, but it was hard. She was beautiful in a way that made him uncomfortable, like looking at a poisonous flower. Then her eyes found Jake. She stopped walking. She stared at him for a long moment. Jake felt like she could see inside his head, reading his thoughts. The room became very quiet. Everyone was watching. Princess Lyra raised one pale hand and pointed directly at Jake. "I desire this human as my husband," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "He will return with us to the Valdrine homeworld." For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Jake thought he must have heard wrong, but then the room exploded into noise. "Princess, please," Ambassador Wells said quickly. "This is unexpected. We need to discuss him." "There is nothing to discuss," Princess Lyra interrupted. "I have chosen. Among my people, when royalty chooses a mate, the decision is final." Captain Bennett stepped forward. "With respect, Princess, Lieutenant Morrison is a citizen of Earth. He has rights. He cannot be taken against his will." The Valdrine guards tensed. Jake saw their hands move toward their weapons. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Against his will, Princess Lyra tilted her head. I do not force. I offer honor. To be chosen by Valdrine royalty is the highest privilege. Does your species not understand this? Our species believes in choice, Ambassador Wells said carefully. She was trying to keep everyone calm. Perhaps Lieutenant Morrison and the princess could speak privately. To understand each other better? Princess Lyra smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Very well. I am patient. But understand this, Ambassador. I have chosen him. If he refuses, there will be consequences. Not threats, she added quickly. Simply reality. My choice is a political statement. Rejection would be an insult my people could not ignore. Jake finally found his voice. Can I think about this? His words sounded weak and small. You may think, Princess Lyra said, but not for long. We leave in 3 days. You will come with us, or you will create an incident that could mean war between our peoples. She turned and walked toward the door. Her guards followed. Before she left, she looked back at Jake one more time. I chose you for a reason, human. You do not see it yet, but you will. Then they were gone. The room erupted into chaos. Everyone talked at once. Captain Bennett was angry. Ambassador Wells was already making calls to Earth. Other crew members stared at Jake like he was already a stranger. Jake sat down heavily in a chair. His legs felt weak. 3 days ago, he was just a soldier on a diplomatic mission. Now he was the possible husband of an alien vampire princess. Now the peace between two species might depend on his decision. He put his head in his hands and tried to think, but all he could see were those glowing red eyes, staring at him like he was the answer to a question he did not understand. Jake spent the next 2 days in his small room on the Endeavor. He barely slept. His mind kept spinning in circles. Ambassador Wells visited him 3 times. She explained the situation over and over. If you refuse, the Valdrine might attack Earth, she said. Her voice was tired. They have technology far beyond ours. They could destroy our colonies in days, maybe even Earth itself. So I have no choice, Jake said bitterly. There is always a choice, Ambassador Wells replied. But every choice has consequences. I wish I could tell you what to do, Jake. But this decision must be yours. On the 3rd day, Jake made his choice. He would go with the Valdrine, not because he wanted to, but because he could not let millions of people die because he was afraid. When he told Ambassador Wells, she looked sad but relieved. You are very brave, she said. I am very scared, Jake corrected her. Princess Lyra came to collect him personally. She seemed pleased by his decision, though her face showed little emotion. You have made the wise choice, she said. Come, my ship awaits. Jake said goodbye to his crew. Captain Bennett shook his hand firmly. If you need rescue, we will come for you, he promised quietly. Jake nodded, but he doubted anyone could rescue him from the Valdrine. The Valdrine ship was even stranger inside than outside. The walls were smooth and black. The lights were dim and red. Jake felt like he was walking through the belly of some giant creature. Princess Lyra led him to a large room with a huge bed and strange furniture. These are your quarters, she said. You will be comfortable here. Comfortable felt like the wrong word. The room was beautiful but alien. Everything was too smooth, too perfect. Am I a prisoner? Jake asked. You are a guest, Princess Lyra replied. But you may not leave the ship, not yet. First you must learn about my people. Then you will understand why I chose you. She visited him every day during the 3-week journey to the Valdrine homeworld. At first Jake was afraid of her. She was so different, so strange. But slowly, he began to see her as more than just a scary alien. She was intelligent and curious. She asked him many questions about Earth, about human customs, about his own life. Tell me about human emotions, she said one day. You feel things so strongly, fear, anger, love. My people have forgotten how to feel these things. What do you mean, forgotten? Jake asked. Princess Lyra was quiet for a moment. My people are very old. We have existed for tens of thousands of years. In that time, we have conquered many worlds. We have become powerful, but we have also become cold. We breed emotion out of our children. We teach them that feelings are weakness. Logic is everything. That sounds lonely, Jake said. She looked at him with surprise. Lonely, yes, that is a good word. I have been lonely my entire life, but I did not know this word for it. She explained that the Valdrine needed blood to survive. They were not monsters from fairy tales, but a biological reality of their evolution. They had conquered other species and used them as food sources. Some species served willingly in exchange for protection. Others had no choice. Does this disgust you? She asked. Jake thought carefully before answering. It scares me. But humans eat animals. Maybe we are not so different. The difference is in how you treat those who provide for you. Princess Lyra seemed to appreciate his honesty. You think differently than I expected. Most species we encounter either worship us or hate us. You do neither. I am trying to understand you, Jake said. And I am trying to understand you, she replied. That is why I chose you. Finally, they arrived at the Valdrine homeworld. The planet was called Noctara. Through the window, Jake saw a world of eternal twilight. The sun was a huge red giant, dying slowly. It cast everything in shades of red and purple. The cities below looked like something from a nightmare, all black towers and sharp angles. It is beautiful, Princess Lyra said. It is different, Jake replied diplomatically. They landed in a massive palace carved from black stone. Guards met them at the landing pad. Jake was taken through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Finally, he was brought to a throne room larger than any building Jake had ever seen on Earth. On a throne of twisted metal sat the Emperor. Kale Valdrine was the most frightening being Jake had ever seen. He looked ancient and powerful at the same time. His eyes glowed brighter than his daughter's. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the enormous room. So this is the human my daughter has chosen, he said. He did not sound pleased. He looks weak. Appearances deceive, father, Princess Lyra said. She stood beside Jake, and he was grateful for her presence. Humans are strong in ways we have forgotten. We shall see, the Emperor said. If this human is to join our bloodline, he must prove his worth. The court demands it. I demand it. An older Valdrine stepped forward. He wore robes covered in strange symbols. I am Counselor Vren, he said. I advise the Emperor. Tell me, human, why should we accept you? What can you offer the Valdrine Empire? Jake took a deep breath. He was terrified, but he had to speak. I offer a different perspective. You say your people have forgotten how to feel. Maybe humans can teach you to remember. Maybe we can learn from each other. Bold words, said a harsh voice. Another Valdrine stepped forward, this one wearing military armor. I am Duke Varen. I say this human is an insult to our people. Princess Lyra should marry one of her own kind, not this weak creature. The princess has chosen, Counselor Vren said. But Duke Varan raises a fair point. The human must be tested. Over the next few days, Jake was put through examinations. First, they tested his mind. Counselor Vren debated philosophy with him for hours. Jake spoke about human history, about wars and peace, about art and science. The ancient counselor seemed surprised by some of Jake's ideas. Interesting, Vren said at the end. Your species is young but not stupid. This is unexpected. Then came the physical test. Duke Varen's son challenged Jake to a duel. The young Valdrine was incredibly strong and fast. Jake knew he could not win through strength. Instead, he used tricks and tactics. He dodged and rolled. He used the environment around him. He fought dirty, throwing sand, using broken furniture as weapons. The Valdrine watching the fight seemed shocked by his methods. When the duel finally ended, Jake had lost, but he had lasted much longer than expected. He had even managed to land a few good hits. Duke Varen looked angry, but some of the other nobles seemed impressed. The human fights with cunning, one noble said. This is not without value. Princess Lyra helped Jake back to his quarters. He was covered in bruises and cuts. You did well, she said softly. You surprised them. That is good. I am tired of being tested, Jake admitted. The worst test is yet to come, Princess Lyra said. Her voice was sad. My father has announced the grand trial. It is an ancient tradition. 3 challenges to prove you are worthy of joining the royal family. Many Valdrine have died attempting it. And if I refuse? Jake asked. Then you must leave Noctara. The alliance with Earth will fail. And she paused. I will be alone again. Jake looked at her. Really looked at her. Behind the alien features, behind the glowing eyes, he saw something human. Loneliness, hope, fear. You really want me to stay? He said. It was not a question. Yes, she admitted. I chose you because I thought you could help my people. But now I want you to stay for me. Jake reached out and carefully took her hand. Her skin was cold, but her grip was gentle. Then I will stay, he said. I will face your grand trial, she smiled. It was a real smile, not the cold expressions she usually wore. Thank you, she whispered. Jake hoped he had made the right choice, but looking at her smile, he thought maybe, just maybe, he had. The grand trial would begin in 2 weeks. Jake had that much time to prepare. Princess Lyra was not allowed to help him directly, but she secretly sent Commander Dax to train him. Dax was the head of her royal guard, a massive Valdrine warrior with scars across his pale face. "The princess cares for you," Dax said bluntly on their first day together. "This is unusual for our kind. Do not disappoint her." "I will try not to," Jake replied. "Trying is not enough," Dax said. "You must survive." The first challenge is called the Labyrinth of Echoes. It will attack your mind, show you your worst fears, your deepest regrets. Most Valdrine who enter come out changed. Some never come out at all. Jake felt his stomach tighten. "How do I prepare for that?" "You cannot," Dax said simply. "But I will teach you to fight and to think like a warrior. The other challenges will test your body and spirit. For those, I can help." Princess Lyra's younger sister Mira also came to visit Jake. She was different from Lyra, more cheerful and curious. She was only 200 years old, which was young for a Valdrine. "I think it is exciting that my sister chose a human," Mira said. She brought Jake books about Valdrine history and culture. "Most of the nobles are boring and old. You are interesting." "I am glad someone thinks so," Jake said. A Valdrine scientist named Dr. Wren also helped Jake. Wren was fascinated by human biology. He ran tests on Jake, measuring everything. "Remarkable," he kept saying. "Your species adapts so quickly. Your immune system is incredibly flexible. This may help you in the third challenge." "What is the third challenge?" Jake asked. Dr. Wren looked uncomfortable. "It is called the Trial of Blood. You will receive a transfusion of royal Valdrine blood. If your body accepts it, you will gain temporary Valdrine abilities. If your body rejects it, you will die." Jake felt cold. "What are my chances?" "Unknown," Dr. Wren admitted. "No human has ever tried this. But I believe you can survive. Your species is tougher than it looks." The day of the first challenge arrived. Jake was led deep underground to an ancient structure beneath the palace. The entrance to the labyrinth was a simple stone door covered in strange writing. "Once you enter, you are alone," Counselor Wren told him. "Find your way through. Face what you find inside. If you emerge from the other side, you pass. If you turn back or collapse, you fail." Jake looked at Princess Lyra. She stood with her father and the other nobles watching. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed worry. Jake nodded to her, then walked through the door. Inside was darkness. Complete and total darkness. Jake could not see his own hands in front of his face. He took a step forward and heard his footstep echo strangely. Then he heard voices. "Jake Morrison," whispered a voice that sounded like his mother, but his mother had died 10 years ago. "Why did you leave Earth?" "Why did you abandon us?" "You are not real," Jake said to the darkness. "Are you sure?" asked another voice. This one sounded like Captain Bennett. "You left your own people to be with aliens. You are a traitor." Images began to appear in the darkness. Jake saw Earth burning. He saw his friends dying. He saw himself standing on Noctara, watching it happen, doing nothing. The images felt real. The pain felt real. "This is not real," Jake repeated. He kept walking forward. The images changed. Now he saw everyone he had failed to save during his military service. There had been a mission on Mars 5 years ago. 3 people died because Jake made a mistake. He saw their faces now, accusing him. "You let us die," they said. Jake stopped walking. His chest hurt. "Yes," he said quietly, "I did. I made a mistake and you died. I'm sorry. I will always be sorry." The ghost seemed confused by this answer. Jake continued speaking. "I carry you with me every day. Your deaths made me better, made me more careful. I cannot bring you back, but I can honor you by saving others." The images faded. Jake kept walking. More fears came. More regrets. Each time Jake acknowledged them. He did not fight them or deny them. He accepted them as part of who he was. Finally, he saw light ahead. He emerged from the labyrinth tired and emotionally drained, but alive. The nobles watching seemed surprised. "He survived," Duke Varen said. He did not sound happy. "He did more than survive," Counselor Wren said thoughtfully. He faced the labyrinth with unusual wisdom. Perhaps there is value in this human after all. Jake had only 3 days to rest before the second challenge. The hunt would take place in the wilderness preserves of Noctara. Jake would be hunted by a shade beast, a predator that could move between dimensions. Dr. Wren gave Jake some advice before he left. The shade beast cannot fully phase through certain minerals. Look for purple crystal formations. They may protect you. Jake was dropped in a forest of twisted black trees under the red sun. He had basic supplies and a simple knife. Somewhere in this forest was a creature that wanted to kill him. He spent the first day setting traps and learning the terrain. The second day, he found the purple crystals Dr. Wren mentioned. There was a cave with walls covered in these crystals. Jake made his camp there. On the third day, the shade beast found him. It was terrifying. A creature of shadow and teeth that appeared and disappeared. Jake led it toward his cave, toward the crystals. Inside the cave, the beast could not phase as easily. It became solid, vulnerable. Jake fought with everything he had. He used fire from his campsite. He used sharp rocks. He used the knowledge from his military training. The battle lasted hours. Finally, Jake managed to wound the beast badly enough that it fled, leaving behind one of its claws. Jake collapsed, bleeding and exhausted. He wrapped the claw carefully. This was his trophy, his proof that he had survived. When the recovery team found him the next day, they looked at him with new respect. The human killed a shade beast, one guard said to another. I did not think it possible. Princess Lyra was waiting when they returned. She saw Jake's injuries and her face showed real emotion. Worry, relief. You survived, she said. Barely, Jake replied. Barely is enough, she said. She took his hand. But the final challenge is the most dangerous. Are you sure you want to continue? Jake looked at her. In the weeks since he arrived on Noctara, something had changed between them. She was no longer just an alien princess. She was someone he was starting to care about. I am sure, he said. Then we proceed, Emperor Kale announced. In 3 days the trial of blood will commence. Those 3 days passed too quickly. Jake tried to prepare, but how do you prepare for your body to reject alien blood? Dr. Wren assured him everything was ready, but Jake could see the doctor was nervous. The ceremony took place in a special chamber. Jake lay on a stone table. Princess Lyra sat beside him. She looked pale, even for a Valdrine. This will hurt both of us, she explained. My blood will flow into you. If your body accepts it, we will be connected. You will feel what I feel. I will feel what you feel, forever. Forever is a long time, Jake said. Yes, she agreed. Are you ready? No, Jake admitted. But let us do it anyway. The ritual began. Jake felt the alien blood enter his veins. At first, nothing happened. Then the pain started. It felt like his body was on fire from the inside. He heard himself screaming. Through the pain, he felt Princess Lyra's presence in his mind, guiding him, helping him. His human immune system fought against the foreign blood. Dr. Wren worked frantically, injecting medicines, monitoring vital signs. For several terrible minutes, Jake thought he would die. Then, slowly, his body began to adapt. The pain faded to a dull ache. Jake opened his eyes. Everything looked sharper, clearer. He felt stronger. He could feel Princess Lyra in his mind, her thoughts touching his. You survived, she said aloud. But he also heard her thought. Thank the ancients, he survived. Now comes the final test, Emperor Kyle said. You have temporary Valdrine abilities. You must use them to defeat 3 of my best warriors in combat. Jake stood up. His body felt different, powerful. But he was also exhausted from the ritual. 3 warriors stepped forward, including Commander Dax. I will not go easy on you, Dax said. I would not want you to, Jake replied. The fight was brutal. Even with enhanced abilities, Jake was less skilled than his opponents. They had centuries of experience. But Jake had something they lacked. Through his link with Princess Lyra, he could anticipate some moves. And he still fought like a human, using tricks and unexpected tactics. He lost track of time. His body moved on instinct. He took hits that would have killed a normal human. But the Valdrine blood kept him going. Finally, the 3 warriors stepped back. Enough, Commander Dax said. The human has proven himself. Jake collapsed. He was covered in blood, barely conscious. But he had survived. Emperor Kale stood from his throne. I declare Jake Morrison worthy of joining the royal bloodline. Let none dispute this. The court erupted in mixed reactions. Some cheered. Others remained silent, angry. But it was done. Jake had passed the grand trial. Princess Lyra helped him stand. Through their connection, he felt her joy and relief. She spoke quietly so only he could hear. You are mine now, she said. And I am yours, Jake managed to smile. I can think of worse fates, he replied. Jake spent a week recovering from the grand trial. His body healed faster than normal because of the Valdrine blood still in his system. The enhancement was temporary, Dr. Wren explained, but some changes might be permanent. Jake would age slower now. He would heal better, and the mental connection to Princess Lyra would never fade. How do you feel about that? Dr. Wren asked. Being permanently connected to her mind? Jake thought about it. At first, the connection had been overwhelming. He could feel Lyra's emotions, hear her surface thoughts, but he was learning to control it, to give them both privacy when needed. It is strange, he admitted, but not bad. I think I understand her better now. And she understands me. The wedding was planned for 3 weeks later. Ambassador Wells arrived from Earth with a small delegation. She brought Lieutenant Sophie Grant, who had served with Jake for 5 years. Sophie hugged Jake tightly when she saw him. We thought you were dead or worse, she said. But look at you. You survived. I barely survived, Jake corrected. But yes, I am still here. Sophie looked around at the Black Palace, at the pale Valdrine nobles watching them. This place is creepy, she whispered. How can you stand it? You get used to it, Jake said. But that was not entirely true. He did not think he would ever fully get used to Noctara. Ambassador Wells spoke with Jake privately. The people of Earth are divided about this marriage, she told him. Some see you as a hero, building bridges with an alien race. Others see you as a traitor who abandoned humanity. What do you see me as? Jake asked. She smiled sadly. I see you as a young man who made an impossible choice for the good of everyone. I am proud of you, Jake, and I am sorry we put this burden on you. Someone had to carry it, Jake replied, but not everyone on Earth supported the alliance. A group of human extremists believed the Valdrine were monsters who would eventually enslave humanity. They had sent a secret operative with the Earth delegation, someone who planned to kill Jake during the wedding ceremony, and blame it on Valdrine extremists. This would start a war between the two species. Jake learned about this plot from Princess Mira. She had been investigating suspicious communications and discovered the conspiracy. But it went deeper than just human extremists. Duke Varan was involved too. Varan has been planning this since you passed the grand trial, Mira explained. She, Jake, and Princess Lyra met secretly in Lyra's chambers. He has allies among the military. He plans to use the chaos from the assassination to stage a coup against Father. We should tell the Emperor, Jake said. We have no proof, Princess Lyra replied. Varen has been careful. If we accuse him without evidence, he will deny everything. We need to catch him in the act. So we let the wedding proceed? Jake asked. And wait for someone to try to kill me? We will be ready, Lyra said firmly. Commander Dax knows. Dr. Wren knows. We will have loyal guards positioned throughout the ceremony. When Varen makes his move, we will stop him. Jake did not like this plan, but he could not think of a better one. The next 2 weeks were tense. He continued preparing for the wedding, while knowing that someone would try to kill him during it. He met with the human delegation, trying to figure out who the operative was. It was Lieutenant Sophie Grant who helped him identify the assassin. She noticed one of the Earth security officers acting strangely, asking too many questions about the wedding security. His name was Carl Hayes, and he had requested to join the delegation at the last minute. Sophie and Jake confronted Hayes privately. At first, Hayes denied everything. Then he saw he was trapped and his true feelings came out. The Valdrine are parasites, Hayes said. They feed on other species. They will do the same to us. You are helping them, Jake. You are betraying humanity. I am trying to save humanity, Jake replied. A war with the Valdrine would destroy Earth. Our only chance is alliance. Better to die free than live as slaves, Hayes said. Jake felt sad for Hayes. He understood the fear. He had felt it too. The Valdrine are not perfect, Jake said. But they are not all monsters. Some of them want to change. Princess Lyra wants to change. By joining with them, we can influence them, make them better. Is that not worth trying? Hayes shook his head. You are blind. You have been seduced by that vampire princess. When you realize the truth, it will be too late. They had to restrain Hayes and turn him over to Commander Dax. But Jake learned that Hayes was not working alone. Duke Varen had provided him with weapons and the security codes to bypass the palace defenses. The assassination was planned for the moment when Jake and Lyra exchanged vows, when they would be most vulnerable. The day of the wedding arrived. Jake dressed in a mixture of human and Valdrine formal wear. He looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. He had changed so much in just a few months. Princess Lyra came to his chamber before the ceremony. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of starlight and shadow. She was beautiful in a way that still made Jake's heart race. "Are you afraid?" she asked through their mental link. Terrified, Jake replied the same way, but not of dying. "I am afraid of failing you." She took his hand. "You could never fail me. You have already done more than I ever hoped for. You made me feel again, Jake. You made me human." "You are not human," Jake said gently. "You are Valdrine. And that is good too. We do not need to be the same to love each other." She smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. "I love you," she said aloud. It was the first time she had said those words. "I love you too," Jake replied. The wedding ceremony began in the great throne room. Hundreds of Valdrine nobles attended, along with the human delegation. The room was decorated with flowers from Earth and crystals from Noctera, symbolizing the union of two worlds. Ambassador Wells and a Valdrine high priest conducted the ceremony together. Jake and Lyra stood before them holding hands. Jake could feel Lyra's nervousness through their bond. She could feel his. They began to exchange vows. That was when Duke Varen made his move. Suddenly, alarms sounded throughout the palace. The defensive systems had been sabotaged. Explosions rocked the building. Guards in Varen's service revealed themselves, attacking the loyal guards. Chaos erupted as nobles screamed and scattered. Through the smoke and confusion, Jake saw Duke Varen's forces moving toward Emperor Kale. They wanted to kill the Emperor and seize power. Commander Dax and his loyal guards formed a protective ring around the throne, but they were outnumbered. Jake did not hesitate. The Valdrine blood in his system gave him enhanced speed and strength. He grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and charged toward the Emperor. Lieutenant Sophie Grant and the other humans from Earth followed him, their training kicking in despite the chaos. The battle was fierce. Varen's forces had not expected the humans to fight. They had thought the humans would flee. But Sophie and her team fought with disciplined efficiency, using tactics the Valdrine had never seen before. Jake fought his way to Emperor Kale's side. Princess Lyra was already there, fighting alongside her father. Through their mental link, Jake and Lyra fought as one, anticipating each other's moves perfectly. They covered each other's weaknesses, combining human unpredictability with Valdrine power. Duke Varen himself appeared, pushing through his own troops toward the throne. He was ancient and powerful, his eyes burning with hatred. "This ends now," he roared. "The Empire will be purified. No more humans, no more weakness." Emperor Kale stood to face Varan, but he had been wounded in the initial attack. He was weak. Varen raised his weapon, preparing to deliver a killing blow. Jake threw himself between them. He felt Varen's weapon pierce his chest. The pain was incredible, worse than anything he had felt during the trial of blood. He collapsed, blood pouring from the wound. "No," Princess Lyra screamed. Her voice was raw with emotion, something no Valdrine princess should show in public. She attacked Varen with savage fury. Commander Dax joined her. Together they overwhelmed the Duke and drove him to his knees. "Traitor," Varen spat at Jake's fallen form. "You have poisoned the Empire with human weakness." "He saved the Empire," Emperor Kale said. He looked down at Jake, who was barely breathing. "He saved me. A human saved the Valdrine Emperor. Let no one ever question their worth again." Princess Lyra was holding Jake, trying desperately to stop the bleeding. "Do not leave me," she begged through their mental connection. "Please, Jake, do not leave me." Dr. Wren pushed through the crowd with medical equipment. He worked frantically over Jake's body. His human physiology is fighting the injury. The Valdrine blood is helping, but it might not be enough. We need to get him to my laboratory now. They carried Jake away as the remaining traitors were subdued. Princess Lyra held his hand the entire time, maintaining their mental connection, pouring her strength into him, refusing to let him go. Jake's last conscious thought was that he had completed his mission. He had protected both species. Whatever happened now, he had done his duty. Then darkness claimed him, and he heard nothing but Lyra's voice in his mind calling him back. Jake woke up 3 weeks later. He opened his eyes slowly, confused by the dim red light above him. For a moment, he did not remember where he was or what had happened. Then he felt a hand gripping his and he turned his head. Princess Lyra sat beside his bed. Her face looked tired, more tired than Jake had ever seen her. Her silver hair was messy. Her eyes, usually so bright, looked dimmed. But when she saw him awake, hope flooded across her features. "Jake," she whispered. Then through their mental link, she said more. Relief, joy, love. All the emotions she had been holding back crashed over him like a wave. "I am alive," Jake said. His voice was rough from not using it. "Barely," Dr. Wren said from the other side of the room. The scientist came over to examine Jake. "Your wound should have killed you. Your human biology should have rejected the treatment. But somehow you survived. The Valdrine blood in your system underwent a permanent transformation. You are changed, Jake Morrison. You will heal faster now, age slower. You might live for centuries." Jake tried to process this information. "I'm not human anymore?" "You are still human," Dr. Wren corrected. "But you are also something new, something unique, a true bridge between our species." Over the next few days, Jake learned what had happened after he fell. Duke Varon and his co-conspirators had been executed for treason. The assassination attempt had failed, but it had exposed deep divisions within Valdrine society. However, it had also shown something unexpected. The bravery of the human delegation, especially Lieutenant Sophie Grant and her team, had impressed many Valdrine nobles. "Humans fought for the Emperor," Counselor Vren told Jake during a visit. "They did not flee. They did not hide. They stood beside us against our own traitors. This has changed many minds. Perhaps you humans are stronger than we believed." Emperor Kale himself visited Jake. The ancient ruler looked at Jake with something Jake had never seen before. Respect. "You took a blade meant for me," the Emperor said. "No one has done such a thing in 1,000 years. You have my gratitude, human, and you have proven that your species deserves a place among the stars." "I just did what was right," Jake said. "Exactly," the Emperor replied. "You did what was right even though it cost you greatly. This is the human quality my daughter saw in you. This is why she chose you." When Jake was strong enough to walk, Princess Lyra took him to a balcony overlooking the city. Below them, Noctara stretched out in its eternal twilight. But something was different. Jake saw lights and colors other than red. He saw decorations that looked human. The Valdrine were changing, adapting, learning from humanity. "After you fell, something shifted in our people," Lyra explained. "They saw me cry. They saw me express emotion openly. They saw a human risk his life for the Emperor. Old beliefs began to crack. Not everyone has changed their minds. But enough have. Enough to start something new. A new era," Jake said. "Yes," Lyra agreed. "And we will lead it together. If you still want to marry me?" Jake turned to her in surprise. "We are not married already?" She laughed softly. The ceremony was interrupted. "By Valdrine law, it does not count. We must complete the vows." "Then let us complete them," Jake said, "as soon as possible. I have waited long enough." The second wedding was smaller, quieter. Only close friends and loyal nobles attended. Ambassador Wells officiated with tears in her eyes. Lieutenant Sophie Grant stood as Jake's best woman. Princess Mira stood with her sister. Commander Dax and Dr. Wren watched with approval. The vows were simple but meaningful. Jake and Lyra promised to love each other, to support each other, and to build a bridge between their peoples. When they exchanged their final promises, Jake felt the mental connection between them strengthen and deepen. They were truly bonded now, forever. After the wedding, Jake and Lyra began their real work. They traveled to Earth, where they were met with mixed reactions. Some humans welcomed them. Others protested, calling Jake a traitor. But slowly, through patience and demonstration, they began to win people over. They established exchange programs. Young humans went to study on Noctara, learning Valdrine technology and philosophy. Young Valdrine came to Earth learning human art and emotion. It was not always smooth. There were misunderstandings and conflicts, but both sides were trying. Jake and Lyra worked with Dr. Wren and human scientists to develop synthetic blood alternatives for the Valdrine. This was controversial among traditional Valdrine, but it helped ease human fears. The Valdrine would no longer need to rely on other species for sustenance. 2 years after the wedding, Lyra told Jake she was pregnant. The news shocked both species. No one had been certain if human and Valdrine could have children together. The pregnancy became a symbol of the alliance, proof that the two species could truly join. Dr. Wren monitored Lyra's health carefully. The pregnancy was difficult. Lyra's body struggled to carry a half-human child. Jake stayed by her side every day, supporting her through their mental link. He felt her pain, her fear, and her hope. When the baby was born, she was perfect. She had pale skin like her mother, but warm brown eyes like her father. Her tiny fingers gripped Jake's hand with surprising strength. They named her Hope, because that was what she represented for both their peoples. 10 years passed. Jake stood on a space station that orbited between Earth and Noctera. The station was a joint project, built by humans and Valdrine working together. Around him, members of both species worked side by side. Some were scientists, some were traders, some were simply friends, talking and laughing together. Jake was now an official ambassador representing both Earth and the Valdrine Empire. He spent his time traveling between worlds, solving disputes, building connections. It was hard work, but it was important work. Princess Lyra joined him at the observation window. She was no longer just a princess. She was co-leader of the alliance, respected by both species. Their daughter Hope walked between them, now 10 years old and full of curiosity about everything. "Look at that," Hope said, pointing to a ship docking at the station. "Is that from the new species? The ones who just made contact?" "Yes," Lyra said. "The Ctharics. They heard about our alliance and want to join." Jake smiled. The alliance was growing. More species were reaching out, curious about this unusual partnership between humans and Valdrine. Some were skeptical, others were hopeful, but they all wanted to learn more. "Dad," Hope asked, "tell me again how you and Mom met." Jake laughed. "Your mother pointed at me and said I would be her husband. I thought she was crazy." "She is a little crazy," Hope said seriously. Lyra pretended to be offended. "I am not crazy. I am visionary. There is a difference." They laughed together, the three of them. Below them, Earth and Noctera hung in space. Two worlds that had once been strangers, now forever linked. Jake thought about his journey. He had started as a simple soldier on a diplomatic mission. He had become a husband, a father, a bridge between species. He had faced death and survived. He had learned to love someone completely different from himself. "What are you thinking?" Lyra asked through their mental link. "I am thinking that I would not change anything," Jake replied. "Even the scary parts. It all led here to you, to Hope, to this." Ambassador Wells approached them with a data pad. She was older now, ready to retire soon. "We have 3 more species requesting contact," she said. "The alliance is becoming quite popular." "Good," Jake said. "The more species we bring together, the stronger we all become." He looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there were countless other species, living on countless other worlds. Some would be friends, some would be enemies, but Jake believed they could all learn to understand each other, just as he and Lyra had. "What was it you always say?" Hope asked him. "About humans?" Jake smiled. "That humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology. It is our ability to connect, to find common ground even with those who seem completely alien. That is what makes us special." "Is it working?" Hope asked. "The alliance?" Jake looked at his daughter, born of 2 species, loved by both. He looked at his wife, who had learned to feel human emotions without losing her Valdrine strength. He looked at the station around them, where dozens of species now worked and lived together in peace. "Yes," he said. "It is working." "Not perfectly, but nothing worthwhile is ever perfect. We are building something new, something better, and that is enough." Lyra took his hand. Hope took both their hands. Together they stood and watched the ships come and go, bringing new people, new species, new possibilities. The future was uncertain, but it was full of hope. And Jake Morrison, the human who was chosen by an alien vampire princess, knew that he had found his place in the universe. Not as a human, not as a Valdrine, but as something in between. A bridge, a connection, a symbol of what was possible when different peoples chose to understand each other instead of fear each other. The story of their alliance would continue for generations. But this chapter, Jake's chapter, had a happy ending. He had found love in the stars. He had helped change 2 worlds. He had proven that even the most impossible situations could lead to something beautiful. And really, Jake thought, what more could anyone ask for?